Okay, so this is video 1 for orality and oral cultures. These are my roommates and friends.
Woo!
So they'll be the ones that I'll be telling the story to. Greetings, guys. Thanks for bearing with me and listening to this, and hopefully we'll have a fun time listening to this. Maybe even learn something. Who knows? So I want y'all to think about the story that I'm going to be telling. So the story I'm going to be telling is going to be Jesus and the Centurion.
Okay.
Something I just want y'all to think about. What was the purpose of Jesus' ministry here on earth? And listen to the characters that are going to be in play, the different actors that are going to be involved. So we're going to have a few different people. We're going to have a centurion. We're going to have a large crowd of people. We have Jesus. Think about what their role is in the story and how it plays into the question I've asked. What is Jesus' ministry? To start us off, I'm going to read a section of the story where Jesus kind of explains everything. So I'm going to read that, and then we're going to tell the story, and you're going to consider what Jesus' statement plays into the story and the narrative as a whole. So Jesus is speaking, and he says, "Truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with so great a faith. I tell you that many will come from east and west to share the banquet with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be thrown out into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So that's a little bit intense. But that's I think that's going to be kind of the key point to the story here. So let me tell what's happened. So Jesus is kind of early in his earthly ministry. He's traveling around the different parts of Israel primarily. He's interacting with people. He's just come off teaching the Sermon on the Mount. His ministry is kind of in the early stages at this point. But he's gathered this huge following. He just preached at the Sermon on the Mount, big sermon, one of his most famous sermons. Lots of people showed up. And now he's been traveling, going from city to city, town to town, likely preaching that same story. He's recently even just cleansed a man of leprosy. Pretty big deal. He started his healing ministry. He goes from city to city, and he's got this large crowd of disciples who are following him, listening to his teachings. They want to know what it's all about with this man. Many think he could be the Messiah. They don't know what that means necessarily. So he's telling them the kingdom of God is here. The kingdom is coming, but they don't know what that means. The Jews are looking for someone who's going to come in and drive the Romans out. And they're looking for a political leader. But he's telling them, I have a mission here on earth. And so he enters this town called Capernaum. Now in Capernaum, he's approached by a man, a centurion, a Roman centurion. This guy would be a leader of a Roman army, kind of like a general or something like that. And this man approaches him, and he bows before him and says, "Please, Lord." He identifies him as Lord. "Lord, my servant at home is sick. Would you heal him?" And Jesus, in all his compassion, looks at the man and says, "Would you like that I should come and heal him?" And the centurion says something very interesting. The centurion then goes and says, "No, Lord, I am not worthy for you to come into my house and be under my roof. But if you say the word, my servant will be healed, because I am a man under authority, and I have men under my authority. And if I tell them to go there, they go. And if I tell them to come, they come. And if I tell them to do this, they do it." And he recognizes who Jesus is, and he recognizes his authority. And then Jesus is amazed. And he says, then Jesus turns to the crowd that's been following him, this large crowd of disciples. And they're all, for the most part, probably all Israelites. And he turns to them and he says his statement, "Truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with so great a faith. And I tell you that many will come from the east and the west to sit at the banquet hall of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they will enter into the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of this kingdom will be thrown into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And he turns to the centurion and tells him, "Go, your servant will be healed." And it says that at that moment, his servant was healed. So, of those points, something I just kind of want to ask about is, what did you notice with the characters that were involved that kind of pointed to to what Jesus' mission is. What do y'all think?
The centurion recognized his authority.
Right?
His power.
Mm-hmm. The centurion was also a Gentile. Not just a Gentile, but a commander of an occupying force. But what do you think about how that plays into the role of Jesus establishing his kingdom here on earth? Because that's what that statement is saying, is he says, I'm establishing my kingdom. What do you think that says about this?
It's not just the Israelites. It's on earth.
That's right. The big thing that he's saying is many will come from the east and the west. He's saying he's throwing open the doors wide for so many to come in and receive the gospel. So something just to kind of think about. Think about what that means for us, because it says that there will be many of the kingdom of earth that are shut out. Not all who are Israelites are going to be Israelites. Mm-hmm. So just something to think about is, think about what does it mean then for God to establish his kingdom on earth, and what our role will be then for establishing that kingdom.